So now we are in the auditorium, which we often refer to as the house. And this is the room where everybody comes in, has a seat, and watches the show. So I'm just going to show you some cool things that we have here in the auditorium. One of the first things that you'll probably notice, and it certainly would be the first thing you notice when you come to this room when you walk in, and if you come in person, is this beautiful blue dome above us. So this is called the dome, and we have this beautiful gold ceiling, right? So the really interesting thing about the dome and the ceiling is that it's not actually the ceiling. So imagine a ceiling that's above that, and the blue dome and the gold ceiling is actually being hung by a metal system. So there's metal brackets and it's just holding it up. And if you were to go up and you could just punch your hand right through the gold, because it's only about that thick, so it's called plaster, that's the material that they use. But it's all like a big movie set that we're sitting in when we're in here. So it's not a real ceiling, it's a fake ceiling, which is super cool. Another thing that you'll notice, if you'll look along the edge of the gold ceiling, you'll see what we call griffins, and they look like cats with wings. And those are from Egyptian culture. So if you remember, we talked about the theater being Spanish Moorish in design, and Moorish was Egyptian. So those griffins are one of the Egyptian influences in the theater. And in that culture, griffins, that little cat-like creature, is known to ward off evil spirits. And so we like to think that that's why the Tennessee Theater isn't haunted. People always want to know if we have ghosts here, and we do not. And we think that it's because we have the griffins to protect us. So as you can see, there's a lot of seats around me here in the Tennessee Theater. So we have about 1,600 seats, but when the Tennessee first opened in 1928, we had 1,996 seats. So we were just shy of having 2,000 seats. But we have less seats now for two reasons. One, because today people like to be in more comfortable seating. So our seating, each of the chairs is just a little bit bigger, it's a little bit more spacious, so people have a little bit more room. And we also reconfigured the seating. So we actually put more seats in the middle of the auditorium for two reasons. One, because most people like to sit in the middle of the room, and secondly, if we have more seats in the middle of the room, we can sell those tickets at a higher price, which helps us make more money. We have a beautiful and really amazing instrument here, and it is the mighty Wurlitzer organ, and that is that beautiful red instrument that you see on the stage. So remember, we talked about the Tennessee Theater opened as a movie palace, and we showed movies here. Well, back in 1928, when the Tennessee Theater was being planned, movies were actually silent. So what that meant is there was no music and people didn't talk in the movies. So the actors had to use a lot of body language and a lot of facial expression to portray what emotions that they were feeling and the story. And the Wurlitzer organ actually created the music and the sound effects. So if there was a car horn in the film, it was actually the organ that would make that sound. Or if somebody tripped and fell and you wanted to have a funny sound, the organ would make that sound. So the organ provided the music and the sound effects, which is super cool. But by the time the theater actually opened, movies came with soundtracks. So what they started doing is, rather than using the organ for all of the music and sound effects, they would do a pre-concert, a pre-movie concert, and they would play that organ before the movie. And we still do that today. So if you were to come see a film here at the Tennessee, you'll actually get to see and hear the mighty Wurlitzer organ before that film. So we're going to take you down and show you the organ in just a little bit, but just take a look at it and we'll take a closer look at it in just a moment.